Let's start. Giovanni, you're in studio. Great. Well, to have you here. I just can't wait to listen to what you got to say next.
Well, I hope it's exciting. It's a lot of pressure. You guys always introduce me in a way that makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh, good.
I mean, it makes me feel like there's another guest in the studio that I wasn't aware of that's about to one up me.
You one up yourself every day, dude.
So, so you called after I believe after a trip to the dentist, and you were still reeling from probably some of the anesthesia, and had this amazing idea for the segment today, which I thought was a terrific idea. Basically, your recommendation was to kind of site audits. I'm not sure if that's what it turned into. I don't know if that's what you meant.
Okay.
But that's what it turned into, which I grabbed right onto that because every now and again, whenever we go and speak at events, I'll be tossed onto panels, and we'll do that to an audience. We'll have someone come into a conference, and we'll pull their websites up on a screen and just kind of live in front of everybody. We'll kind of pick apart what they're doing, show them what they're doing well, tell them what they need to improve upon. So Christine is our guinea pig today, and this is going to be a little bit different because since I was told about this yesterday, I had some time to kind of actually look at your site and actually run some reports and run some tools against it to give you actually probably a lot better information than what I give to people live.
Hello.
Thank you.
So your website is effectivefocusinc.com. And first of all, I want to ask, and I think these are probably fairly obvious answers, fairly obvious questions, is, the website itself, what do you expect to get out of that as a business owner? What do you expect the website to do for you?
Well, a couple of things. One is where a client can go there after they've met me so that they can kind of see a few things that I've done, a little bit more information. And the other is to provide current clients a place to go to where they can access a client portal. Okay.
So you didn't, that's actually an interesting question because you did not mention anything related to lead generation or introducing you to someone. So you, is that something, from the standpoint of being a business owner, is that something that you would want your website to do if it could, or is it just that it's not performing that function right now, so you just didn't list it?
I want it to. However, most of my business right now comes from relationships.
Okay.
And so that is really the next level that I'd like to take the business to, is for people all around the world to be able to find me easily.
Okay, cool. And you and I at different levels. I'm obviously kind of a technical. I'm a nerd. So, but you and I operate the same way. I mean, most of my business, and it's amazing to me how people, how blessed I am when people find me, because I don't really advertise. I'm not aggressive about putting myself out there. I do all the SEO stuff, but all my business comes from word of mouth. I mean, that's how I met Yorba, through a person, and all of a sudden we're sitting in the studio now, right? So I went and I looked at your website with the since I hadn't talked to you ahead of time. I always assume it's a lead gen tool first, and then it serves these other purposes afterwards. I've got a little bit of fantastic news.
Yay!
I've got some suggestions, and I've got a nice diamond in the rough that you own and possess, that you can turn into something that Google is going to love about you. That I don't think you realize you have. So number one, small website. When I go and I run my tools against it, and again, folks, if you're on the radio, if you're listening to this through YouTube or the website we're looking at is effectivefocusinc.com. Wouldn't hurt if you hired Christine, because of the segment. So small website. So one thing that Google is looking for text in order to figure out what you're all about and to figure out how it's going to rank you on the internet. So when I went through technically and looked at the website is built very well, and that's unique from a standpoint of usually any time I look at a website first, I can pull out literally over 100 issues that are errors, and I use air quotes, that Google doesn't like, that causes people not to rank well in Google. You've got a total of 3 of them.
Oh, wow.
So that's amazing.
Yay.
Part of that, though, is because your website is very small. So think of you've got basically a site that looks really good on mobile devices because you've got all your content essentially on one page. But think about individual pages on the websites. Each one of those is a potential doorway for Google. So one thing I might recommend to you, and I don't know, who you've got working with you on the site. One thing I might recommend is taking those sections out of the website on that homepage that you have that are really long and deep, and breaking those up into individual pages, because each one of those individual pages can rank separately for Google.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so in Google's eyes, you don't have a homepage. Every page on your website is potentially a home page. So by breaking those up and increasing, because I looked at your website, you can make your website from 5 pages to 15 pages just by moving stuff to different pages and putting links instead of one long piece of content.
Okay.
So that's going to be one thing I'm going to recommend. I've got to keep an eye on the clock. I always look at the clock like I know what I'm looking at, and I have no clue how much time I have.
Watch his fingers.
Two other things I'm going to recommend to you. Number one, from the standpoint of the folks that you work with, if you can find a way to get them to link to your website anywhere on their website,
Okay.
that is going to do wonders for your ranking. And right now, because when I look at what Google thinks about you on the internet, it doesn't really have any context to know what you're all about.
Okay.
All right, and outside of just text, and I don't mean words inside of graphics, the actual text on a page, that's probably the most important thing Google looks at. The second thing Google looks at is how many people link to you and are they relevant to your business. Okay. And it doesn't matter what those links say anymore. It used to matter what, like if it said professional coaching in the link and it went to your website, that would matter versus being your name or your company name. At this point in time, Google's smart enough to figure out what the context is. So you can have people link to your website with your company name on there, but that actually is worth gold to you. That can actually drive up your search rankings tremendously if you just get your clients to link to you.
Okay.
Cost them obviously nothing, and it can be anywhere on their web. They can bury it 15 pages deep for all I care.
Wow.
It's going to make a huge difference for you. The last thing I'm going to mention is I found this gem.
Yes.
And this is a current podcast, and I'm holding up a piece of paper like people in their cars can see what I'm doing. She's got a podcast called Behind the Coach's Door, and you're doing that currently.
Yes.
OMG, as my 15-year-old daughter would say.
Yeah.
There is a huge amount of content here that you can utilize. Go to a website, you've got a pen, called Scribie, SCRIBIE.com. These people will transcribe the audio in your website for anywhere from 60 cents to $1 per minute.
Okay.
And you take that text and put it on your website. That is unbelievably powerful food for your search rankings. And it costs, if you've got a 30-minute podcast, it's $40.
Right.
That's less than what you would pay much less than what you'd pay a copywriter. It's conversational. It's all contextual. All the keywords you need to be found in Google are going to be inside what you're speaking back and forth on your podcast.
Right.
It's an enormous amount of value you've got right there.
Yay.
So go to Scribie, and you can. They've got 3 different levels of services there. I have nothing to do with them other than I've used them for years, and they're ridiculously amazing and ridiculously cheap.
Fabulous.
We got to go. Giovanni, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
All right, Giovanni Gallucci, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Christine Conway of Effective Focus, Inc. about her topics. We'll be right back. If you listen to CEO Money, follow us on all of the social media platforms, and don't forget, tune into our podcast. We'll be right back.